and welcome to the Flame and Fiber podcast. My name is Barbara. You can find me on Instagram and Ravelry as Diva S. Oh my gosh, I haven't said that introduction in over 2 months. I am so sorry. But I've been talking every day. If you're watching my vlog, you know that. I will say cheers to you. I'm channeling Shavas. This is a south side. So there you go. Yum. It's a gin drink. Very simple. It is gin, lemon juice, sugar, and mint. And I use fake sugar. I have been following Very Pink Knits for a long time on Instagram, and of course I use her videos to learn new things because she has amazing videos where she teaches you all kinds of knitting things. I don't know if she does crochet or not. But she has a side project. Her project for Corona, for Corona lockdown was to take a bartending class. And so she has another channel on or another account on Instagram called the Drinky Drink Project, which I have been following, and she's been doing all kinds of cocktails and stuff as she goes along with her bartending class, although I think she already graduated. So anyway, I found the South Side by watching her Instagram account. The recipe is in the Savoy cocktail book, which I'm sure I talked about before, which she turned me on to and which I bought. I'm wearing lipstick today. Probably should have done that whole hair and lipstick thing before I started. But anyway, I hope you are well. I hope you have weathered the Corona times well and safely and healthily. And I'm looking forward to a little bit of more normality. Dennis and Aura and I all got our second shots last Friday. Christy and Rich have had both of their shots, and Jason is getting his second shot this week, and Allison's done too. So I'm feeling like we're all doing what we can. So I'm excited. I have plans to... I've been watching videos on YouTube, train ride videos, where people just go on trains and they point the camera out the window and they show their cabin and they, you know, whatever. So I really got the urge. I really wanted to take a train ride. So in a couple of weeks, I'm taking a train ride from Philadelphia to Tuscaloosa, Alabama. And my daughter's going to pick me up in Tuscaloosa, and I'm going to spend a few days, just a couple, with them. And then I'm going to take the train home. But I've missed her, and I haven't seen Rich in a while, and he's not going to be coming up this summer. She will be, but he won't. And so I'm looking forward to seeing them, and I'm very excited about going on the train. And so that's fun to have plans for that. I also am planning to visit my sister, who lives in Boise, and I've never been to her house. I think she moved to Boise 3 years ago, maybe. So, so I'm looking forward to that too. She also has all her shots. South side. It's a gin drink, Chavez. Of course, she drinks vodka martinis, so she may not be a gin girl. Okay. Oops, my book fell on my lap. I'm coughing. Oh, I usually take that out of the podcast. I do not take coughing out of the vlog. I don't edit the vlog very much. I couldn't do it every day if I did. And I did number 403 today. Vlog 403. May the 4th be with you. It is May 4th, 2021. So this is a knitting and stitching podcast. In case you've forgotten, I practically forgot to. And I have 2 finished objects. Last time, and I didn't even look up the date, but I think it was the end of February. I think I missed March and April completely, so I'm really sorry about that. I was almost finished with my Bistro sweater, This, the Bistro is by Fgbound Knits. And the story of the Bistro is that the lovely Valerie, I had done a sweater called the Backbone Sweater using minis, my leftover minis from my advents, and I paired it with mohair. And I had some thoughts about the mohair. I wondered if, you know, it's not itchy, but I can feel it. It has a very light prickle factor. I was wondering how the Surrey Alpaca would be, and the lovely Valerie sent me this beautiful Surrey Alpaca in the gorgeous color Vinyard. Such a beautiful color. And this yarn is by Treehouse Knits, and I am not sure. It's been a while, I have to admit, and I couldn't find the tag, but it's Treehouse Knits, and it's a worsted weight. The main part is worsted weight. This is Surrey Alpaca, held double, and this is worsted weight in the color Vinyard. Well, I had one skein of the Surrey Alpaca, and I got this idea to do stripes, but I only had one skein, and I was going to do it single, but I didn't like the look of it, so I held the Surrey Alpaca double, and I only had one skein. So what I did was I decided to put the stripes only in the front. So this is the back, no stripes, just the stripes, the same color, just in Surrey Alpaca rather than in the worsted. And I really, really, really love the way it looks. Now apparently there is a way to do intarsia in the round, but I don't know what it is. And, you know, so my first few rows of this ended up with a lot of ends. And then I was trying to figure out, you know, how could I do this with not so many ends? And so what I ended up doing was, when I was doing the worsted, I was just knitting in the round. And of course, this is after, looks like I should tighten up near there. This, of course, this is after you split for the sleeves, because when you're doing back and forth, it's not that hard. So after you split for the sleeves, there's a panel of reverse stockinette. And I was doing some things to, that's why this looks so crummy, to hide the ends and stuff in that panel. And I decided I didn't like the look of it. It wasn't really working. So as I went further down, I realized, well, when I was doing the worsted, I could just knit in the round. But what I really wanted to do was knit back and forth with the mohair, so I didn't have so many ends. So that's what I did. So when I got to the mohair part, I just knit a little 6-row tab of mohair, back and forth, 6 rows. And then I knit a 6-row tab of worsted, back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. And then when I get to the 7th row, and now I'm doing worsted on the front, I can knit in the round for 6 rows. And then I have another tab that I do of the Surrey Alpaca, another tab of the worsted for in the back, and then when it's time to go all the way around with the worsted, I knit in the round. So what that meant was that I had slits right here, where because I was going back and forth here, and I was going back and forth here, and so this was slits. So when I finished the sweater, part of my finishing was to close up those slits. But it also meant that I only had 4 ends per row instead of whatever I had. It worked out beautifully. I love, love, love the look of the sweater. I think it really is wonderful. I ended up with enough of the mohair left that I ended up doing the collar part, or the neck band, in the mohair. I'm not so thrilled with that. because I don't think it's giving it enough structure. I mean, it looks okay, but I'm always fussing with it because I've been wearing this sweater, you know. I wasn't going to wait until I showed it on the podcast. I mean, I can't even wear it now because it's too hot. So I've been wearing this, and it feels like I need to adjust the collar all the time because it feels like it's coming down. So I Rock Knits has a way of tightening up around, you know, necklines and things so that they close up a little bit, or your straps don't show, or things like that. And I think I'm going to do this. I need to find the rest of this yarn, although maybe I don't really. And I'm going to tighten up around this part of the neckline before it gets to the Surrey part, and see if I can just tighten it up enough so that this doesn't bother me. Because turns out Valerie was right. The Surrey Alpaca doesn't have even a small prickle factor for me. It's really lovely and luscious. So I just want to tighten that up just a tad, so I'm not I'm not fussing with it. I just don't want to fuss with it. But otherwise, I'm really, really, really happy with this sweater. It's so yummy. So this is the Bistro by Fgbound Knits. And other than the striping, it might have been a 3/4 sleeve. The pattern might be 3/4 sleeves, and I made it long sleeved because it's a warm sweater. And that would be the only change I think I made on this. But I'm really happy. Oop. You do get the fuzz in your lipstick, though. Rats. So, that's FO number 1, my Bistro, which it was almost done. It was almost done on my last podcast. But my next FO is my Navel Orange Granito. And I had talked on my vlog about how I had looked at my wardrobe and realized I really don't have any orange in my wardrobe. I have yellow. I have a couple of yellow summer sweaters, but I don't really have orange. And I felt like I needed some orange. And the wonderful, my friend Verena, for my birthday, sent me orange yarn. Beautiful, gorgeous orange yarn. And I made myself a Granito. And I just finished sewing the pockets. In fact, I may still have, I do. I still have some stitch markers in it from where I sewed the pockets. I am so in love with this yarn. My knitting mojo was waning. And so this sweater took me 6 weeks to knit. I mean, when have you ever known me to take 6 weeks to knit a sweater? I mean, really. And it's a pattern that I really like. What the heck? Why does that... Oh. It's a pattern that I really like. That's the needle. The needle's making my sweater look weird. And the yarn just made me smile every single, oh, that's the back, every single day. I just loved knitting on this. And what the heck did I do? I still have pins in it. It's making it look weird. I just finished. So anyway. So here you go. Granito by Joji Locatelli. And I blocked it before I did the pockets. So it's gotten messed up since then. And that's too bad. I've worn it a couple times, even with the pockets messed up, at least for my vlog, because I'm so happy with it. But it is now too warm to wear anymore. So that's too bad. So I followed the pattern on this pretty carefully. I think I made it a tad longer. I have knit the Granito before, and I wanted this a little bit longer. And so I made it a little bit longer, and it worked out great. What did I do? Well, I alternated skeins, because this, oh, let me tell you about the yarn. This yarn is from Rising Tide Fiber Company, and it is their Garrett Fingering 100% Peruvian Highland wool. And I alternated skeins because it's hand dyed, it's somewhat variegated. I just wanted to make sure that I did the best for the yarn and the best for the sweater that I possibly could. So I alternated skeins. So I have on the inside somewhere to be found, maybe here. I was just alternating skeins right under the arm, and my plan was to go just down, you know, just change skeins here and go down. Well, I was knitting with Valerie, and she suggested that I try helical knitting, and she explained it to me. So I did try helical knitting, and that was the end of that line that went down. Now, she wears her sweaters. Sometimes she wears them what I would think of as inside out. Sometimes she wears them stockinette side out. Sometimes she wears them reverse stockinette side out. So she likes to have the option of wearing either side out. So she's very careful to do helical knitting so that she doesn't have this issue, and so she can wear her sweaters whichever way she wants. And I had heard of helical knitting, but I had never actually done it, and I didn't know exactly what was involved. And it really is quite easy to do. However, at one point I was trying to fix a stitch, and I got really confused because as I dropped a stitch down, the strands of yarn crossed, and I'm like, how does that happen? You know, somebody says, oh, you're helical knitting. I don't know, that's probably what it was. So I did have a few places where it felt like my stitches looked a little weird, and I blamed it on the helical knitting. Now, I don't know. User error, for sure. There's no question about that. But I enjoyed knitting it, and I thought that helical knitting was great. I really did. So then, Valerie, if you're looking for a virtual knit group, Valerie has a standing Zoom meeting at 11 a.m. Eastern Standard Time on Sundays. Eastern Daylight Time on Sundays. And there is a link to that meeting in a thread in the Flame and Fiber podcast group on Ravelry. And if you're not on Ravelry and would like that link, then you can email me at flameandfiber@mindspring.com, and I will send it to you. But she has this meeting every Sunday, that, you know, because she's knitting every Sunday at that time, and so she's on. And if you pop on, you can say hi and have somebody to knit with. I pop on periodically. And it was either at that Zoom meeting, or we also have a monthly Saturday Zoom meeting at 2 p.m. Eastern Time. And the next one will be on May 15th. I'm assuming May 15th is a Saturday. I will correct it down here if it's not May 15th. And there is a link for that in the Ravelry as well. So it was either on a Sunday meeting or on the monthly meeting. She suggested that I try, because I was just finishing the body, and she suggested that I try knitting the sleeves 2 at a time. Now, I knit my socks back in the day, in the olden days when I used to knit socks. I knit my socks 2 at a time, so I'm very familiar with the concept. So I decided, what the heck, let me try. Well, knitting socks 2 at a time and knitting sleeves 2 at a time have one big difference, and that is that Socks are independently flying around, not connected. Sleeves are both connected to the sweater. So I kept having trouble with my yarn. I was pulling it from the inside and the outside, and it kept getting into driving me crazy, whatever. I cut it a couple times and restarted it because it felt like it was all tangled. Finally, I just split my yarn and I had a separate ball for each of them because it was making me crazy. And it also felt like Sleeve Island was taking forever. And I don't actually usually have problems with sleeves. You don't really hear me complain about Sleeve Island that much. But doing them 2 at a time, I guess my complaint about that is very similar to many people's complaint about doing socks 2 at a time, where they like to feel like they've finished something, you know, and then they'll go on to the second sock. And I guess that's how I feel about sleeves. You know, I'm perfectly happy to, you know, finish my sleeve and then start the next sleeve. And now Valerie had a good point. If you do them 2 at a time and you're doing decreases and things like that, you don't have to really keep track as closely, because you do decrease on one sleeve, you do the decrease on the next sleeve, and you don't, you know, you have to keep track of how many you did, but you don't. It's easier. I'll give you that. It's definitely easier, but I don't have any trouble putting stitch markers and counting. Anyway, I felt like I was on Sleeve Island forever. So, helical knitting, yes. I will try that again. I thought that worked out great, and, you know, I think I can solve the problem of an occasional weird stitch. I don't know that I'm going to do sleeves 2 at a time anymore, unless they were not attached to the sweater. Like if I was knitting a sweater in pieces, I would be perfectly happy to knit both sleeves at the same time, because then it would be similar to knitting socks. In fact, it would be easier because they would be flat, although they wouldn't even have to be flat, as long as they're not attached to the sweater. Anyway, so I'm not sure that I will be knitting my sleeves 2 at a time anymore, but it is an option, and it worked fine once I sorted out the yarn and stopped pissing and moaning and, you know, cutting my yarn and everything. I'm like, I'm going to have more ends on these stupid sleeves than I will, you know. Anyway. So those are my 2 finished objects. Now, digging in my, oh, and I have an extra skein left. Farina gave me enough yarn. I think I'm going to make myself a hat. I'm thinking a beret. What do you think? Beret to go with my Granito? That's what I'm thinking. I'm thinking a beret. It just came to me. One of the, I've been doing watercolor. I talked about the watercolor in my last podcast. I've been doing a lot of watercolor. And one of the women that I watch videos of, she's really cute. She wears a little black beret. She's got short gray hair like me. So I was thinking maybe my hair would look cute in a little black beret, or a little orange beret. So there you go. So I've been doing watercolors, and I finished my Granito, and trying to figure out what I wanted to do next. Like I said, I've been having a little bit of a knitting mojo issue, and I wasn't sure what I wanted to do. And at one point I was going through pictures from my vacations, my travels, looking for inspirational pictures that I could paint. I'm painting from pictures for the most part and really enjoying it. And I've been finding my vacation pictures and painting them and enjoying that. So I was going through pictures looking for inspiration for my watercolor, and I came across this picture. Now this picture is a woman who I was walking behind in the Hermitage Museum in St. Petersburg, Russia. And I loved that wrap that she was wearing. It's very simple. It's simple knit wrap with the stripes down the sides, and the stripes are drop stitches. And I'm not showing the front of it because, you know, while she gave me permission to take her picture, she didn't give me permission to put her on the internet. But anyway, it's just a long rectangle, so the front of it is just, you know, goes across her body like this. And it's a very simple design and very simple knit, and I decided that I wanted to make that. And I have a whole bunch of lace yarn from Holly Road Fiber Farm. It is called Zephyer Wool Silk in the color Sable. I don't know if you can see that. Holly Road Fiber Farm. And it has 500 yards for 1.6 ounces, which they call fingering, which I found hilarious. I bought this yarn 4 or 5 years ago. Probably 5 years ago. My first Maryland sheep and wool that I ever went to. I had more money than sense when I went to that first fiber festival. I bought the weirdest things. I have hardly used any of the yarn that I bought on that trip 5 years ago. Well, I bought I love the color of this yarn. It feels luscious. And, you know, it's a little bit shiny, and it's called Sable. And who wouldn't want it? Look at it. It's tied with this beautiful satin ribbon that matches. Yeah, exactly. But I've had this yarn for 5 years and haven't figured out anything to do with it. I have 4 of these. I guess I have 4 of these. So I have 2,000 yards. So I decided I am making a Hermatage wrap. And here you go. I started it. So this is the side where I'm going to have the drop stitches. And Jerry told me, she looked up a drop stitch pattern. And there are I'm making 3 stripes. So there are the 3. There are the 3 yarn overs. 1, 2, 3. That when I drop the stitches down, they'll drop down to here. So I have to keep track of my stitches. And Jerry looked up a pattern where they did drop stitches in a shawl. And she said that the stitches before and after the dropped stitches were knit through the back loop. And so I am knitting the before and after stitches of the drop stitches through the back loop. And it occurs to me now that I could just knit all of them through the back loop, and the ones that are dropped, so what? But anyway, instead of all this, but it's also keeping track of which stitches will be dropped in the end. But here is my Hermatage wrap. So I have been knitting on it. I've gotten to the point, it's on a size 6 needle. I've gotten to the point where I realized that I wasn't enjoying knitting this as much as I should, because the yarn is actually very slippery. It's very thin, and I'm trying to knit it through the back loop for some number of stitches. And so I am going to be looking for a wooden needle that I think will make it a little bit less slippery. I need a sharp needle. I'm hoping that my Knit Picks needles will be okay, a Knit Pro or whatever they are, because I'm on a no-buy year, so I can't buy more. So there you go. So I'm calling this my Hermatage wrap from the lady I saw in the Hermitage. So the idea is that I will knit this really long thing, and I surely hope it works, because if I knit, because I have to knit at least 60 inches, maybe more, because I want it low on me like it is on her. And so this side will be sewn together in the back, down the middle of the back, except for the part where my head will go through. And this part is this edge going up and around and back down again, and that's where the stripes will be. So I hope it all works out, but it's sort of mindless knitting, except for the fact that it's a little too slippery, so I have to pay close attention or else it slips off and, you know, that kind of stuff. So I want to make it a little less fiddly, a little more mindless. So I'm going to look for a new needle for that. But this is my Hermatage Wrap. This has no pattern. I'm making it up as I go along. So that's whip number 1. Whip number 2 is, I was watching Leslie Friday. I guess it was last Friday. And she was knitting on a Mobius cowl. And that just struck a chord with me because I can remember back several years ago when I had kind of lost my knitting mojo. And I ended up knitting a Mobius cowl. And that Mobius cowl just made me smile. I was as happy as a clam while I was knitting it. And it helped me get my knitting mojo back. And so I went out on the YouTubes and I found Kat Bordy's video on how to cast on a Mobius cast on. She was a brilliant woman. She developed this cast on. Because before she did that, everybody was just knitting a rectangle and then twisting it and sewing it together. But Kat Bordy figured out how you can cast on and have a Mobius. Now, for some reason, it feels like this is inside out. Well, it's a Mobius. There is no inside. There's only one edge of a Mobius, and it goes around and it has one turn, and it's kind of a mess. But when you cast on, I was looking for where I started, but when you cast on, you start in the middle. And as you're knitting continuously one edge. You're only ever knitting one edge. This edge is the same edge as this edge. It's really mind-bending. But, so basically, what I cast on, and so let me show you the yarn. So this is the yarn I'm using. This is, and I was gonna look for it, and then I didn't find it. This is, hold on. Okay, I was getting really mad at myself. This yarn is Knitter's Nightmare, Sadie Ruin. I don't think she's selling yarn anymore. 100% merino superwash, and it has 4 giant color changes, and the colorway is Girls Just Want to Have Fun. Girls. Well, I won't sing for you. So anyway, this yarn starts with black. Then it goes to the dark purple. Then it goes to bright fuchsia here. And then on the outside, it's kind of a bright corally color. So 4 colors. Each color is 25 grams. So, oh no. Hold on. I'm going to need to do some fixing with that before I can start knitting with it. All right, so I start with the black. That's almost 25 grams, but I got to the point, you can see this, I was alternating stockinette, reverse stockinette, stockinette, reverse stockinette, stockinette, reverse stockinette. Well, actually what I was doing was stockinette, reverse stockinette, stockinette. And I was going to have to go to reverse stockinette. I didn't think I had too much black left, and I really didn't want to do those pearls. So I pulled out the rest of the black at that point, and it was just the tiniest little ball, so it was a good choice because I was at the beginning of the row at that point. So my inner color is black, and it's alternating stripes of stockinette and reverse stockinette. So my next colors, so one color, you know, so you get about 2.5, you know, this is like, what, 5 inches? So these will be 2.5 inches on each side, because now I'm going all the way around. It's the same number of stitches as in the middle. So I'll get 2.5 inches on each side, and then I'll be switching to the next color. So this, I decided to do a offset moss stitch, if that's such a thing. I think I just made it up, which is a moss stitch, 2 stitches, 2 knit stitches, 2 purl stitches. And when I got to the beginning of the row, I offset by 1. So what I have going, and I don't know if you can even tell, is I have this diagonal. I have a textured section that has a diagonal going down it. So I'm doing that all the way around. And because of the way the Mobius works is, when I'm stitching a knit stitch on this side, when I get to the other side and stitch a knit stitch, it will, on the same side as the stockinette side here, it will be reverse stockinette over here because there's a twist in the row. So you need to be doing a pattern, stitch pattern that looks good on both sides, because one side of your cowl is going to have the back of whatever is knit on the other side of the cowl. So in this case, it's a moss stitch, so it's exactly the same on the front and the back, or it looks the same. It's off. So when I get to the fuchsia, which is next, it's a little blown out there, but it is kind of crazy. I'll give it to you. I think I'm going to do some kind of a, figure out some kind of a lace. The thing is, I don't want to do anything that sort of garter, because that means I got to purl a row. And I discovered when I was doing the black that I really don't want to purl a row, to be frank. Even though I don't mind purling, I certainly don't mind the moss stitch. But it's 200 stitches. This is 200 stitches. I hope it's enough. I hope in the end I'll like it, because it's 200 stitches around. But if this is anything to go by, it's going to be 16 to 20 inches wide and 40 inches around. So we shall see. I don't know. Again, no pattern. I'm just making this up as I go along. But oh, you can see the diagonal of the stitches there, so that's fun. And I need to figure out some kind of stitch pattern for the fuchsia that I like, that looks good on both sides. It doesn't have to be the same on both sides. It just has to really look good on both sides. And I'm not a huge fan of reverse stockinette, but I may end up just doing a lace, you know, yarn over, knit 2 together kind of lace, and figure out something. Anyway, I will let you know next time, or you'll find out on my vlog where I talk about this. But this is my Mobius cowl, inspired by Leslie of the Not Quite Enough Yarn podcast, or the Not Quite Enough Distance vlog, and she was very inspirational. So she also recommends that you be very careful to only have 1 twist in it, because apparently she ended up with 2 twists, although she liked the way it looked. Yeah, it's easy to get. It's a little kind of mind-bending. I'll admit, it's a little mind-bending. But I'm enjoying it a lot, and, you know, I'm working on getting my mojo back. My next work in progress may not technically count because I haven't actually started working on it, but it is my approximate next thing that I'm going to work on, which is my Ochre cardigan by Ambah O'Brien. I started making this, you know, a year ago, maybe 2 years ago. I didn't even go back and look. And this is made with Shabui linen in the poppy color. Oh, and you can very well see those stripes? I didn't have enough Shabui in the poppy, so I bought more, and obviously it was completely different. And I decided I didn't care, and I made the Bryce cardigan, which is a cardigan by Hannah Fedek. And I have made 2 Bryce cardigans. I love the picture of the Bryce. Go look it up in Ravelry. It looks lovely and free and flowing, and I've made it twice. The second one I made is over here. I'm considering it stash as well. It will also be frogged. So I frogged the Bryce and decided to make the Ochre cardigan, which I think is going to be really cute. And you can see, oh, look at me. I did start the lace. I have started the lace. And then I put it down. See this lace? So I am very close to the bottom. I'm almost done with, and then it's got, you know, sleeves, 3/4 sleeves, which I like a 3/4 sleeve. It's a nice loose, it's made for linen. It's perfect, the perfect little summer, shruggy, short, whatever. When I did my Bryce, when I first started the Bryce, I started, you know, sort of trying to hide the ends when I changed balls and this kind of thing. And I quickly realized that because it's such a, you know, you knit linen at such a loose weave, that is really hard to hide those ends and that kind of thing. So of all the yarns that you might want to do a magic knot on, linen is like the perfect yarn because it will hold tight. So when I made the Bryce, I finally got smart and I made a magic knot. So this is one giant magic ball of linen that I took, you know, off my Bryce. So it also now has the stripes that the Bryce had, and I've decided I don't care. I don't know if that's really true or not, but I've decided I don't care. Because I love linen, I love the linen, I love the color, and see, I wanted an orange in my wardrobe. I mean, obviously it's a very different orange than this, but it's still poppy, it's still kind of orangey. Hold it next to the navel, it looks more pink and corally, but you know what I mean. So I'm hoping that I really truly don't care, but I am so close to the bottom. Look at that. So this is my, when I decide it's time to do a sweater again, or it's time to start engaging my brain again in my knitting, this is the whip that I'm going to do next because it's summertime. And I might, you know, actually be able to go out. Well, in fact, I'm going out. I'm going to Mississippi, where it's highly likely I won't need any kind of sweater at all, but you know what I mean. So that's proximate knitting, kind of, rather than maybe kind of a whip. Now I have some stitching whips. You might recall, and I do understand if you don't recall a damn thing, because it has been so long since I podcast. Oh, I feel like a jerk. But I also understand. Can't watch me every day. I mean, I'm just like, really? Every day, lady? Give me a break. I get it. So, my daughter, Christy, has a floss tube, which I will link to below in my down bar. And she does embroidery. And she's a wonderful embroiderer. And she started the idea that she wanted to do a temperature stitching along with some of the other floss tubers that she knows and enjoys. And so she designed a temperature library, which she has in her Etsy shop. And, you know, although now it's May, but, you know, never too late. She has both a cross-stitch version and an embroidery version. And there were many days when I wished I had picked the cross-stitch version since, you know, like, I'm a cross-stitcher. But I'm a cross-stitcher, and I thought, well, let me try their embroidery. What the hell? See what I think about embroidering. Well, I don't really think I'm an embroiderer, but I've stopped pissing and moaning at her every time we stitch together, because we normally stitch on Sunday nights. We have a Zoom craft get together, Christy and I, and we work on our temperature libraries together. So here's my temperature library. We did not get together this past Sunday, so I did not finish April yet. So I have April to finish and a little bit of May, but this is my temperature library. And I'm really happy with how it looks. Now, I did piss him on a little bit for some of the books, but I promised her I'd stop doing that. And I have stopped. But here's my temperature library. Now I need to start working on the actual bookshelves, and she's got tchotchkes here. There's a little bowl here I didn't do. There's a little landscape here I didn't do yet. But I've really been enjoying it. And I've been enjoying sitting with her on a Sunday night and working on my cross stitch. So this is my temperature cross stitch, which I am keeping up with. I have a little log, kind of like my sister-in-law. My mother-in-law keeps a log. Mine is kind of like a log where, you know, like I put my weight and I put the temperature every day. So I keep track of my weight. And I keep track of the temperature. So I'm doing the temperature it is when we walk the dogs. Which I forgot to look today. I hope Dennis looked. Oh well, I'll just put whatever the temperature was at home. It's okay. It's okay. But last week I didn't have any books that side by side would be the same color, and I'm hoping that will be true this time too. So anyway, so I'm doing embroidery, which, you know, is not my natural thing, but I do like a cross stitch. And I was stitching and I, you know, was like, oh, I want to work on my dragons. So I did work on my dragons of Sumatra since last we spoke, which was quite a while ago. So here is the current state of my dragons of Sumatra. And I am so tickled with this. This cross stitch is so much fun. I'm using the called for color of the floss. And the floss is Gloriana Silk. Gloriana. In the color Poinsettia. And it is so beautiful. It has a little bit of, you know, something going on. I have them on my little llamas that were a gift. I have them all out on the little llamas. And the nice thing is you don't have to worry about the color. You just know what color you're going to do. You don't have to change colors or anything like that. And it's just such a fun. It's by Ink Circles. And I love it, love it, love it. I don't work on it very much, but I do love it. And I'm not working on very much at all lately because I've been painting. I have my Corona project is watercolors, apparently. I started doing watercolors. Excuse me. I started doing watercolors because I decided that I wanted to make my own Christmas cards. And so I started watching, and I had done paper crafting, and I probably told you this on the last podcast, but I had done paper crafting when Dennis and I lived in the Seattle area back from 1999 to 2001. So, being me, part of the joys of crafting are buying stuff and collecting things. So I have a bin in our basement that came from our move here 20 years ago of paper crafting stuff. So I had Dennis dig out the box, which he actually knew where it was. He's an amazing guy. And brought it up, and I started watching videos about, you know, making cards, because I had a lot of stuff, and of course I had to go shopping. I went to Joann's and bought stamps, and all my inks were dried out, so I had to buy new inks and new pens, and I bought all this stuff, and I was going to make Christmas cards. And I was very excited. I was going to make Christmas cards, and I started watching videos. And I ended up watching a video of someone painting, watercolor painting Christmas cards. I'm like, oh, that looks like fun. And 5 years ago, 4 or 5 years ago, you know, going through Costco as you do, and you're going around, and I saw this art box, which I don't know where it is at the moment, or I'd show it to you. This art box for $30, and it has everything. And it has oil paints, it has acrylics, it has watercolors, it has this, it has that. Which I had never opened. I bought it, I paid $30 for it. It's a nice wooden box full of art supplies. Cheap, obviously, art supplies if the whole thing costs $30, but whatever. So here I am, I've got watercolors because I have this art box. So I started painting Christmas cards. Which of course meant I had to go back to Joann's and Michael's and buy more things. But it got me started doing watercolor, and it turns out I'm really, really enjoying painting in watercolor. And that has turned into my Corona lockdown new thing. I think there are a lot of people who have taken the opportunity of, you know, forced isolation, forced, you know, you've got to be home, you really can't do anything like that. And a lot of people, I think a lot of people have, you know, to the degree that they can, have taken the opportunity to get more into whatever craft they were already doing. I was so grateful that I was a knitter and a stitcher come Corona. You know, I mean, I don't know, and I've said this before, I mean, those poor people whose hobbies were sports, when sports just stopped. And, you know, all these things. I mean, if your hobby is something where you have to go out and do it with other people and be athletic with other people, you couldn't do that anymore. And so anyway, I was very grateful that my hobby was knitting and reading and stitching. So anyway, I think a lot of people took the opportunity to, I don't know, learn a new language, start a new kind of craft, really learn more about the craft they were already doing, getting more into it, you know, like some people took the opportunity. I mean, I wasn't like looking for an opportunity because I was knitting and I was vlogging, and because I've been blogging almost every day. But so it wasn't until December that I even tried watercolor, and it really wasn't until the end of January, until into February, that I really realized that this is something I'm really enjoying. And I really want to do it, and I want to get better at it. So, of course, I had to go shopping. Well, lovely Cat sent me a whole box full of watercolors with every color you can imagine, and that was a lovely way to start. And then, you know, I had to buy all these different kinds of paintbrushes, and I had to buy paper, and, you know, you don't want to know. But I've been doing watercolor, and I have really, really been enjoying it, and I feel like I'm actually getting better at it, and which is a big part of enjoying it. You know, if I was just doing it and I wasn't feeling like I was getting better, I think that would have been hard. But I do feel like I'm getting better. And you know, like I said, I'm really enjoying it. Well, so if you watch my vlogs, you know all this stuff. I mean, all of you who watch my vlogs, thank you, thank you. I mean, I'm like a little kid. Mommy, look at my picture. Look at my picture. I've been showing my pictures like crazy on the vlog, and I thank you so much for your support. I really do appreciate it. I mean, it has been really, really lovely. But I do feel like I'm getting better. And as I said, I've been painting mostly inspired by or trying to replicate photographs. And I have a lot of photographs because we've done a lot of, Dennis and I have been so lucky to do a lot of traveling prior to COVID. So I've been pulling out pictures, my pictures, and then I've been like, on Instagram, people post a picture, I'm like, stealing the picture. Is this okay if I steal your picture and try to paint it? And, you know, I mean, I do try to get permission. But, I have really, really been enjoying it. And so, Lisa sent me 5 beautiful pictures she took from around where she lives in Ireland. And they were so inspiring to me. And I'm like, you know what? I'm really inspired by these. If you're inspired too, let's do, you know, let's all pick a picture or two and be inspired by it and see what we come up with. I mean, you could be a painter, you could be a sculptor, you could be a cake baking artist, you could be a knitter and be inspired by the picture for something that you're knitting, a weaver, you know, whatever, mixed media, whatever. So we started this hashtag FAF Inspired Craft 2021. And there's a thread in Ravelry with the 3 pictures, and I picked the pictures this time, but I'm happy for other people to pick. This was in the middle of April, and so we picked for like 6 weeks because who knows how long it's going to take to do anything. When I got these 5 pictures from Lisa, the picture of the rocks grabbed me absolutely immediately. This is the picture of the rocks. This is one of our 3 pictures for this 6 weeks period. That picture of the rocks inspired me, and I have no idea why. I had no particular affinity to rocks before that I knew about, but I was so inspired by these rocks. I painted 5 different pictures of these rocks. I will show you the one I like the best. Here's the rocks. Here's my picture. This is the one where I feel like I really captured what I was trying to do. This was my 4th picture. I did another one after this, trying to do something a little different. I will put, my plan is at the end of this podcast to put just a montage of my paintings at the end. So you can just see them, and you can skip that if you're not interested and whatever. But anyway, something about these rocks really grabbed me. And so I did 5 versions of this. I'll put all 5 versions in the order that I painted them at the end of this video. The other pictures that are the inspiration pictures until the end of May are this waterfall, and I just did a picture of this waterfall that I really, really am happy with. And I put this the Gerber daisies that I bought 6 weeks ago or a month ago or whatever. Here's a picture of them if you want to do a floral rather than a landscape, or do something in oranges and yellows or whatever. It seems like I'm really drawn to oranges and yellows these days. So anyway, that's the plan. So we have, you know, people who are looking for inspiration or want to join in, we have a hashtag and we have threads on Ravelry, both a thread under with the 3 pictures, and anything you're doing that's inspired by those pictures, please post. And I have another thread up of like, if you have pictures that are copyright free that people are allowed to use and do whatever they want with them that are inspiring to you, put them out there. I put a bunch of pictures that I took on my vacations out there, and I put some pictures that other people have given me, and the other pictures that Lisa sent, and other people have posted pictures. Valerie posted some beautiful flowers. So If you're looking for inspiration for anything, we've got it. We've got it in that thread, and I'm encouraging you to do that too. The other thing going on is our Ode to Joy make-along, which is a year-long make-along, and basically it's very simple. If it's bringing you joy making it, it counts. If you're baking a cake and it's bringing you joy, it counts. If you're pulling things together, thinking about ideas, trying to figure out what you're going to do, and it's bringing you joy, it counts. Knitting, sewing, anything. Cake baking, macaroni art, I don't care. Watercolors, I should put my pictures in there because my pictures are definitely bringing me joy. If it's bringing you joy and you are making it, it counts. And so we want to see pictures. We want to hear about your process. We want to hear why it's bringing you joy. And there's a thread, just one thread for comments and pictures out on Ravelry. And I pulled the winner of the March winner of that beautiful prize package from Andrea the Cat Lady. Thank you so much, Andrea. And the winner of that was Virgin, and she watches the vlog, so she already knows. And so she actually already received her prize. The prize for April was this beautiful prize package that Hilda offered. It was so lovely of her, and Vicky was the winner of that, and Vicky got in touch with us, and so Hilda will be shipping that from Australia to Vicky in Canada, and so the April winner already knows. I will be pulling the prize for May at the end of May, and I will announce it on the vlog, and then I'll announce it on the podcast whenever that happens. And the prize for May is Dog Star Knits. This is Flame in Fiber. Back 4 years ago, actually 4 years ago, maybe like today, I met Jake and Ray at Maryland Sheep and Wool. And I was a new podcaster. I had started my podcast in September. This was May. And he offered to make me a yarn to celebrate my 500th subscriber whenever I got to that. And I think I got to 500 in June or July. I don't even remember exactly when. And he made this beautiful, beautiful yarn for me. Dog Star Knits. Well, I gave away that yarn, and I kept one for myself, and I made socks, and they happened to be here because I was probably talking about them last time. But here are my socks. These aren't my socks that I made with that. Those are my socks that need to be darned. I don't have my socks, but I made gorgeous socks that I love with my skein of this yarn. So it was all used. I didn't have it anymore. Well, Jake is back in business. They've moved to Missouri. He's now making more yarn, gorgeous, gorgeous yarn. And he has started up his business. And last podcast, I showed you some yarn of his that I bought, new yarn. And I showed you this too because he's found 2 skeins of Flame and Fiber back from the day 4 years ago. And he sent it to me. He is such a sweet guy. And a very talented dyer. Can't wait to use the yarn that I bought from him. So anyway, he sent me 2. One is for me, and one is for the May giveaway for the Ode to Joy make-along. It's Flame and Fiber. This is a very limited edition. Very limited. And so it's a BFL, 80/20 BFL nylon fingering. Gorgeous, gorgeous, gorgeous yarn. Flame in Fiber. Dedicated to this podcast. That was such a sweet thing to do. Anyway, so this is the May giveaway. Plus, you know, whatever. Probably some stitch markers. That's my guess. So thank you, Jake, for the gorgeous yarn. And thank you, everyone who's participating in the Ode to Joy make-along. Ode to Joy MAL. And Ode to Joy MAL 2021. We seem to be using 2 for some reason. I'm not sure why. So there you go. There you go. That's what's happening in my world. And I'm vlogging every day. I'm not sure how long that will last. Certainly there will be some interruption when I go on my trip to Mississippi. We will see what happens. Well, you already know whether or not I was able to get this up on Tuesday or if it goes up on Wednesday or possibly even Thursday, because I don't know if I will be editing it today. I have to scan in my watercolors so that I can show them at the end. And so this is what's going on with me. There you go. You know, the normal everyday stuff. Maisie's so cute. Poor Maisie. She got, you know, she looked like a bear. Dennis was walking her in the park. Her and I guess it was when I was visiting my parents. I don't know, but I wasn't with them. And a tiny, tiny kid said, "Mom, it's a bear, it's a bear." Maisie looked like a bear. She was fluffy and long hair and whatever. Well, she got shaved. We are not good about brushing her out. She gets matted. She gets shaved. So that happened like a week and a half ago. This morning, I'm in brushing my teeth, and she starts barking in the bedroom. She doesn't usually bark in the bedroom. It's very odd. So she's barking. I'm brushing my... Dennis is like, "Come out here. Come out here. Come out." There's Maisie looking in the mirror, barking at herself. She got up from her bed, Dennis said, and she saw herself in the mirror, and she started growling, and then she started barking. I think she didn't recognize herself. I don't think she knew. She lost all her hair and she looks completely different. I mean, this is a mirror she sees every day. Why it took a week and a half, I have no idea. But her bed is right next to this mirror. You know, the whole thing is crazy. But anyway, she was barking at herself. She was just so beside herself with that dog, which in a way is a little funny because she really likes dogs. It's not like she does that to any other dog. Why she would do it to herself that she didn't recognize, I have no idea. But anyway, she's kind of adorable. Very sweet, but she was very annoyed with that other dog in her mirror. Poor thing, she got her butt shaved so close that she was been itchy for a week. She's feeling better now. Her hair's grown enough. It's no longer driving her crazy. But we did feel bad. We're just not that good about, you know. She's a lot to brush. She won't sit still, you know. I'm gonna make excuses, but I shouldn't because it's all my fault, but whatever. Anyway, she gets shaved periodically and it's fine. But that was pretty funny this morning. So we're starting to get nicer weather now. It's warm today, too warm, even, you know, kind of warm and muggy. I didn't want to sit outside while I did my podcast today. I have been vlogging out in the morning though. Worked in the garden a little bit, and that'll be good. I planted mint for my south sides. I'm telling you, south side, I highly recommend it if you're a gin drinker. If you're a vodka drinker, you could try a Barbara cocktail. Yeah, hello. If you know the White Lady, which is where I started, which is also a gin drink, a Barbara cocktail is a White Lady with vodka instead of gin, which is basically 1 part lemon juice, 1 part Cointreau, and 2 parts vodka. And that's a Barbara cocktail. Or if you use gin, it's a White Lady. So anyway, there you go. There you go, Chavez. Have a Barbara cocktail sometime. It's vodka. You'll like it. So anyway, I guess I'm going to call it a day here. I think I covered everything. I just want to thank every one of you. Thank you so much for being part of my community. It means the world to me. Thank you so much for all you who have, you know, been there for my vlogs and interacted and commented. I just cannot thank you enough. It has meant the world. mark your calendar, May 15th, 2 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time. The link to the Zoom call is in the Ravelry thread. If you have no access to Ravelry, email me at flameandfiber@mindspring.com and I will send you the link. Come and join us for a knitting day on a Saturday. If you can knit on a Sunday at 11 a.m. Eastern Daylight Time, join the Zoom meeting with Valerie and others who come and join her, and I try to come too, and I'm marking. I forgot this week, and I'm setting an alarm now because apparently I need an alarm. Just saying. It's the same Zoom link every week. It's also in Ravelry, and if you need that one, I will send you that one too. So thanks again, everyone. Thank you so much for being part of my community during Corona and keeping in touch and being enthusiastic and being inspirational. I've been following you guys on Instagram, and I'm so happy that you're part of my community. I cannot tell you. So I will say goodbye. Please, please, please take good care of yourselves. And I really, really, really hope that you have lots and lots of time to do the crafting that brings you joy. Ode to Joy, make along. Let us know what it is. And stay safe and stay sane, as I say on my blog. Bye.